So, hey, good afternoon. I wanted to get this done. I won't be on long. I will not be on long. Good afternoon. I hope you got your tea. And if you can't be in the chat room, of course, for the most part, that's about a lot of us who can't really be in the chat, but they can listen in, whether they're driving or doing things around the house, but still listening. That's cool too. Because I really want you to, hey, D. Allen Warren, Bridget, Observing the Facts, Original Intellect, Lady Moon, David, my Lisa. I really want you to pay attention to the documents that a lot of our people left for us to read. And the same thing that we're put through today, if we want to be in high political positions, meaning you have to be, no matter what your race is. Hello, Anthony. No matter what your race is, in order to be in these top positions, whether it's a manager, a supervisor, a director, CEO, CFO, CIO, all O's, OOs, you have to be able to lie to your people, distort the facts. You have to be able to do all these things and live with it. And live with it. That's why they get paid the big bucks. Because anybody could do the job. But they don't just want anybody doing it. It's particular. You have to be able to lie to the public. You have to be able to deceive the public. You do. I don't care if you're a senator, representative, mayor, governor, you name it. Any top political position, you have to have those abilities. Yeah. And still walk around, hold your head up, and be modest, and have a modest, warming countenance, as though you don't really know what's going on. You have to be able to lie to the people. You have to accept that you're deceiving them. You can't tell them that you're playing them or a game's being played on them because you're part of the game. This is the system that we all live under. And no one's to this date, since the act of deceiving in powerful positions, have had the balls to step up and take over so you don't have to do that. I mean, how can you even be a loving Christian and go to work Monday through Friday and deceive and lie to the people? That doesn't make sense to me. And play games, psychological games. How can you do that and then turn around and go to church and ask the Lord to forgive you for your sins and just keep doing it? That has to be a sick person. And then they tell you you're sick. This is crazy. You can't be honest with people. You're not allowed to. What kind of fucking way is that to live? But don't worry. You'll own your house. Your kids will go to the best schools. And you'll raise them according to a Christian way. Because when they grow up, and they're going to be well prepared for these positions to pick up where you left off. Yeah. Oaths. You think your oath that you take in a position is according to the book you swear on? Absolutely not. Well, there is a character in there that they speak about in their Bible. It's called the devil. They're out to lie, cheat, steal, deceive. And he has angels. And that's what we're living with. That's what we're living with today. So to keep the people who trust you intact, let's give them things. Let's give them shiny things so that they know we care, but we have to do this. We have to lie to them. We have to make up lies and we have to cover up. So when you get to someone like Carter G. Woods, he was in their little Bible, it's called Wrestling with the Devil. How can I write this paper? How can I write this book? Because, see, just like everybody raised their kids with codes and specific things to take note to, so did we. But those that will be woke will be able to see what your boule leader is really saying to you, because the boule leader has to go through so much. He has to struggle not being caught around you. He has to struggle not being able to give you a hug and shake your hand in the right way, but he have to shake it like, look, we can't really talk here. Their boule's been going through that forever, and they still do. They can't be caught by their white colleagues that they know some ghetto person that's lowly, and they can't, not while they got their suit on. Hell no. That's what we deal with today. And that's a fact. This is why in his writings, when he wrote, these are not all. Let me read it because I hate to repeat. Hey, Frida. Hey, Enoch. Hey, Sylvia. Hey, Darren. I hate to repeat something and you not see it. I gotta let you see it just so you could recall. Oh yeah, and by the way, A1 will be on here tomorrow to put even more stink on this. When he told you, let's see, I want to go back up here. Where he said that this isn't all the Negroes in this country. And he meant that shit too. He was letting you know. So let's go back to where he said that. Boy, we read so much yesterday. I can't, I'm scrolling back because I read so much. We went through so much yesterday on this. And I really appreciate him leaving this for us because we're able to pick up in our, 3 generations down, we're able to pick it up because we know our grannies and grandpas. Oh boy, oh boy. Let me just go up a little. Here we go. We'll start. I think it's right in here somewhere. The hell? It's just so much I read. Wow. Let me just go up. Okay. Let me just go up. All right. So from the beginning. Check and copy. Maybe it's after here. Okay, yeah, it is. Anyway, I'm tired. I'm tired of looking. I'm not gonna go back. You can do that yourself. But he clearly said that in doing this, these are not all the Negroes in this country. these census sheets. And you know, we went on and on and on with how many Negroes were in here, but he made jokes in here. It's highly probable that one of the 20 Negroes brought to Jamestown in 1619. Now he's letting you know, 1 out of 20 was brought to Jamestown. Some Negroes, right? Letting you, because Virginia was already loaded with Negroes. We were all over, and he let it be known. Look, even though I'm reading these census to you, it does not mean that these are all the Negroes in this country. He was letting you know, because it was just loaded. And then he got so frustrated with trying to separate the Indian from the Negro that he just left the goddamn Indian out and just continued on the rest of this book with Negro. And I said, wait, what happened to the Indian? Because it was one and the same. And Connecticut got the same way. When they showed their sheet, they just put them all together because they no longer could tell who was the Indian, who was the Negro, that they tried to keep separate. Because we was having babies with, when we had babies with so-called Indians, but the Indians look like us because we was the same complexion, we was all different shades, so it didn't matter at this point. They just set that up. They just conked them all together. Y'all all niggas. Even the dude in Virginia, Walter Plecker, how they all one and the same. Y'all all colors. Cause they couldn't tell. They literally can't tell who's the Indian, who's not. Now you know those that are not of this main landmass because some had accents, British dialect accents, French dialect accents. You know that they wasn't from the mainland, but we didn't have that back then. We had niggers, and I'm using modern day language. We had white people and black people. That's it. But back during these times, we were labeled as colors. See, when he's saying Negro, he's really speaking in his time, 1923 and all that. But further back, when you're talking 1830, it was colored. It was no Negro. It was colored. And that's a fact. And prior to 1830, it was the Indian. And when you heard about slave, it was the slave because the Indians were enslaved. The Indians were employed. But anyway, I'm not going to keep coochie Putin along with that. In here, let's see, let's get this up. When he was saying, when Carter G. Woods was saying, these ain't all, basically, I'm going to speak in modern day language. Mulattoes are Indians if they half Negro, half colored, and half white. Come on now, don't ask silly questions. Mulattoes and niggas, they all one and the same. What's the goddamn difference? Separating, too much fucking separating. Let's see. When he said these ain't all the niggas, or I'm using modern day language, these ain't all the niggas in this country, because the what you see in the blue are the countries that are the states that cooperated with answering the 1837. They were able to go in these states and collect this information from households, the Negro households in the states on the left, the blue states. Okay. And even within them states, you still had our people that was like, get the hell away from my door. No, I don't tell them nothing. You keep your mouth shut. And my grandfather and grandmother and parents still say that to today. Keep your damn mouth shut. Don't tell them shit. And then if it's a black dude at the door in the suit, you know, grandma, big mom. I'm not talking about mama. I'm talking about grandma. She the one sitting in the corner saying, I don't know that motherfucker. She don't care if he is look like one of us. Grandma was always like, I don't know that. Don't you tell him shit. Close my damn screen door. That's down south. That's my family in the north. Who the hell is that? You don't know who the hell you talking to. Close my damn door. And I would feel so bad as a little kid just having to close the door in their face. Close my damn door. So he would close the door. But all on the left, even though all these states was where they got the 1830 census from that we went through the other day, or to in 1830. They didn't even go. They didn't go to Texas, Colorado, Arizona, Hawaii, California, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin. They ain't go to them states. That's the other 50 states. And it was niggas all through that. I did a whole bill on New Mexico. It was loaded with niggas. Texas was, Arizona, Colorado. They didn't even bother to go because they was just not cooperating. And they kept it real, a buck. That's why I kept it red. They wasn't playing. Mulattoes are Indians indeed, miraculous. Mulattoes. Though that's a very mean identity too. Calling our baby a mulatto. So what? They half white, half Negro, half. But back in 1830, they was really called coloreds. You know that even in 1890s, because we had senators in South Carolina, and all of them were racially identified as colored. And I showed you that. It was damn newspaper. They had, this is what I'm saying, primary source tells you what you was being called in the South. They ain't give a damn. Connecticut, after not being able to determine who's the Indian, who the nigga, they just mixed them all together on one spot on the end of the goddamn tally for in Connecticut. That was in 1782. They was like, fuck it, we don't know. I can't wait till A1 comes on tomorrow. Maybe he'll pop on and say hi. But honey, in 1872, just like that newspaper in Connecticut, that little spreadsheet, and that's official. You can Google that. I ain't have to go to my damn historical society to get that. We were colors in 1872. And we was colored back in 1830. I showed you the abbreviation COL, CL, CLD. Look. So when A1 comes on tomorrow, I can't wait. You know, he's preparing for these questions, and he's got more that he wants to get into. But he's going to tell you about 1755. This damn building is still up in my state. That is literally still up in my state. The governors. That was the first one. So if this was up in 1755, sorry, those folks that came in 1619, it wasn't that many of them. As a matter of fact, they was up in Massachusetts. So who built these structures? This is in 1755. They didn't have no damn tools when they came from Europe, the Pilgrims, or the 16 19 so-called project people. They ain't have no damn tools when they came here to build these structures were already here when they got there. When they got here in the 1600s, this structure was up. They didn't build it. How they gonna build it when it was here when they got here? Our ancestors built these buildings are brick. You know our buildings because all our shit was built with bricks. So A1 will hit on that and he's gonna show you a lot of stuff. So yeah. So let's get into the reading. What a behavior that they continue to practice to this date. And that would be preventing the increase of the free Negroes. One of the major ways is putting those abortion clinics on every goddamn block. Planned Parenthoods. They wanted you to stop making babies. Because when you made a baby and you had it by a white woman, which came out to, of course, be a mulatto, that's what they wanted to stop because these was the babies being born free. And you had the free Negroes. Their babies was born free. So let's read what he says about preventing the increase of the free Negroes. Persons who professed seriously to consider the future of slavery therefore saw that miscegenation and especially the general cohabitation of white men with their female slaves introduced a mulatto race whose numbers would become dangerous if the affections of their white parents were permitted to render them free. The Americans of the future would thereby become a race of mixed breeds rather than continue as a white and a black population. They want, you see this shit? This is disgusting for them to say about our mulatto babies that's mixed. I couldn't be alive in these days. We are born in the right days. You gonna say this about my baby because he's half white and half black? You got, oh my goodness. I would have to choke. Oh my, I would not be alive knowing that this is your thought when it comes to my mulatto baby. And then you call them mixed breeds like they're fucking animals. Let me read this again. And you listen to how disgusting it sounds. Because now they're saying this is the introduction of a mulatto race. Persons who professed seriously to consider the future of slavery, therefore, saw that miscegenation, and especially the general cohabitation of white men with their female slaves introduced a mulatto race whose numbers would become dangerous. So they hate all the mulattoes here in the fucking North because we're loaded with mulattoes. Mixed babies. So the fuck what? Dangerous. The numbers would become dangerous if the affections of their white parents were permitted to render them free. The Americans of the future would thereby become a race of mixed breeds rather than continue as a white and a black population. So if you got a white and a black population, listen, y'all. Who is the black population? We already know who the white population is. The dogs that are writing this type of shit. Who's the black population? Back then in 1830. Hint, they went on a census sheets as bees. Who was that? This is the Indians that remain coming together with the white guys. I'm gonna sit here until y'all give me the answer because now they're saying they wanted to keep a white and a black population. They ain't want no in betweens. So who's the black population? Let's get it. I'll wait until y'all put the answer. There you go, original intellect. Forgot all about the goddamn Indians. There you go. They forgot all about the Indians. White and black population. Hey, you forgot about somebody. The Indians. See, that's what I say. When they write, they gonna fuck up. Let them write their lies. That's what you call you dig your own pit and you fall into it. Because now you're talking about white and the black population. What about the Indians that remain? Oh, what they happen to be. We know who the white population is. They came over from Europe. So who's that black population? You know damn well it's them damn Indians. Because you forgot. Forgot to mention them. That's what happens when you know exactly who they talking about. Forgot all about the thousands of Indians that stayed and didn't go to Oklahoma. It was millions that didn't go. The hell with thousands, millions. Hey, Beverly. As the lust of white persons for those of color. Oh, who is those of color? Are they trying to be nice now? Are they really trying to be nice now? As the lust of white persons for those of color was too strong to prevent this miscegenation, the liberty of emancipating their mulatto offspring was restricted in the slave states, but that of selling them remained. These laws eventually, therefore, had their desired effect. They were never intended to prevent the miscegenation of the races, but to debase, that means bring down, to a still lower status the offspring of the blacks, who, in spite of public opinion, might intermarry with the poor white women. So now they're no longer Indians or colors. Now they're saying blacks. They were designed also to leave women of color without protection against white men who might use them for convenience, whereas white women and black men would gradually grow separate and distinct in their social relations. Although thereafter the offspring of the blacks and whites did not diminish, instead of being gradually assimilated to the type of the Caucasian, they tended to constitute a peculiar class, commonly called people of color, having a higher social status than that of the blacks, the darker ones, but finally classified with all other persons of African blood as Negroes. Now he threw that in there. They just hated black all the way around. It didn't even fucking matter. Kept as a distinct class too, there could be more easily observed further reasons for the suppression of free Negroes in slaveholding states. The more seriously the whites thought of the possibilities of this class, the more fearful they became of their holding tumultuous and unlawful meetings, out of which might come secret plots, dangerous combinations, and conspiracies culminating in the insurrectionary efforts. Yet, although the whites made special laws to prohibit the free Negroes from stirring up the slaves, the master class found the master class, okay? The master class. Some people still are like this in the work world. The master class found it difficult, and they always end up dying suddenly. These people from the master class. The master class found it difficult to counteract their influence. Therefore, then, the effort was directed towards preventing manumission. Prior to this change of attitude, a master might liberate a slave whenever he felt so disposed. The Negro, under such circumstances, obtained his freedom just as easily as an indentured servant became free at the expiration of his term. No official could interfere therewith, for it was a matter which concerned only the master and slave. Such Negroes became a part of the body politic and were regarded as capable of making and enforcing contracts. But even this restriction, recruiting of the free Negro population, proceeded faster than some of the colonists desired. Manumission was soon objected to as a danger in this respect, while Negroes thereafter still obtained their freedom by last will and testament and by deed. The legislator also exercised this right and determined the condition under which the individual might do so. To restrict this privilege, the courts had to develop the idea that there could be no such thing as private manumission, although such had been frequently indulged in by masters during the earlier period. Manumission became a matter of the sovereign power of the state. The master could not, of his own authority, make with the slave a contract by which he could obtain his freedom, for the slaves was not a person, in this case, empowered to make an agreement binding at law. Now, this is why I can't wait to A1 come on tomorrow, because, okay, let me finish reading the paragraph. The slave was merely property and could not be given life and personality except by an act of the legislator. Excuse me. The lawmaking body then became the court for decision of such matters, as in Virginia in 1662. Now, we're talking colonial times. We wasn't even a part of this shit, but we were enslaved Indians. When by special act of the legislature, this procedure in manumission became a law. Other colonies, we're talking about colonies, y'all, developed a manumission law somewhat of the same order. This is during the 1600s. And those buildings were there. See, this is why I can't wait to ask A1 so we can come up and clarify this, because see, at this time, this is during the colonial periods, and I wanted to ask A1, hey, all right, this is during the colonial times, and their laws were these black Europeans. I know he's probably listening in, but he's going to be able to answer this, because if so, this is why I can't stand them. There's something in my energy that do not like these black Europeans. And to this date, I just like spit. Even like, you know, when you see a black cat, I'm superstitious. You're supposed to spit. I spit when I see them. Because they were upholding this shit if these were the ones that was in control. But I don't know, because I don't do the ancient history part. A1 does that part. And I swear, I'm like, I can't help it. When I see those black Europeans with them fucking British accents, I spit. Just like I do when I see a cat. They say spit when you see a cat because it's bad luck. So I spit when I see them too. I'm just keeping a fucking buck. And they still, those with those British accents still treat mainland niggas the same way. It's in their blood to do so. We never had British accents. The way we talk now is the same way we've been talking. In the course of time, then, the state of the Negro was debased. The status of the Negro was debased. In the course of time, then, the status of the Negro was debased. Right? Because the Indians that remained, they had a status. They had a sovereign status. So what happened? It got debased. Look it up. We already went over this. Girl, you, Beverly, okay. Matter of fact, I forgot to um uh um mod you up, baby girl. Oh, there you go. Say, there you go. Now you go. There you go, Beverly. Hey, um, so so when you hear, mm, 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 I need to highlight this because see, I take all kinds of notes and it becomes my notes, and I go back. In the course of time, then the status of the Negro was debased. They were lowlified. For this social divergence, several reasons may be given. In the first place, the Negro was an independent planter or slave holder, was not so acceptable as to white indentured servant, who a few years removed from his inferior status easily lost his identity among the more highly favored whites belonging to the same race. Yo. So who lost their identity? What identity? Inferior status. Yo, you lost your identity. Uh, let's read it again. This nigga Indian that stayed and remained. This was the result of them. In the course of time, then, the status of the Negro was debased. For this social divergence, several reasons may be given. In the first place, the Negro, as an independent planter or slaveholder, was not so acceptable as to white indentured servant, who, a few years removed from his inferior status, easily lost his identity among the more highly favored whites belonging to the same race. The Negro's color served as a badge to remind the public of his ignoble position, which, in the course of time, tended to attach itself to this particular race. As the agricultural colonies, we're talking colonial, y'all, began to feel more dependent on slave labor, niggas, Indians, because we know our land. We know what can grow on our land. We know where it grows because Before they came, we were trading with the different areas, which now have different names of our landmass. We know what grows in Florida more than what grows in Connecticut. So, as the agricultural colonies begin to feel more dependent on slave labor, they regarded the presence of the free Negro as an unfavorable influence on the slave. Manumission, therefore, which had at first gone forward with little restriction, tended to decline. Negroes who became free thereafter were thus rewarded by their masters because of unusually faithful service, or by the colony or state because of some heroic deed productive of good public. Before this policy with respect to the free Negro could be worked out, however, there came eloquent protests in their favor. Alfonso Sandoval, the Spanish Jesuit of Havana, and the Germantown Friends that thus spoke out for emancipation. Some Puritans of New England also took this high ground in spite of the fact that their countrymen in that section engaged in the carrying trade were considerably increasing their fortunes by the slave traffic. They continued their opposition too, even when such was frowned down upon by British merchants, profiting by the traffic much more than the New England slave traders. The effect of their protests on manumission, however, was largely local. These religious bodies stirred up the majority of their communicants to the point that they freed their own slaves to clear their conscience of what they considered a guilt in the light of the revelation of Holy Writ. Lord Jesus, oh Lord, forgive me. I freed my slave. Hallelujah, hallelujah. But then the strictly commercial and agricultural centers of the colonies, this protest had little weight. To carry out the principle which they had learned to espouse, however, some of these moved toward the frontier where they could promote liberal institutions. In this way, the emancipating Baptists migrated to the mountains of Kentucky just before the end of the 18th century, and the Quakers of the uplands of Virginia and North Carolina to the Northwest Territory 2 generations later. Such effective service in behalf of the freedom of the Negro was rendered by the Methodists from the time of their very beginning in the country, that the sect was at first considered anti-slavery. The Presbyterians also, in their struggle for religious freedom, likewise advocated the removal of the restraints from the manumission and gradual emancipation of the slaves. You see how the church is involved in this? Oh, restricted. Don't let them go yet. This is why you can't pay me to be a Christian. Pastors buy more pussy than pimps sell it. Oh, during this very period, and then the people that come in, well, my church ain't, you know what? Shut up. My church ain't, my pastor, you know what? Shut up. Because the main person, the first woman that run up and speak, talking about, well, my pastor, that's the main one that's screwing them. So she gonna run her little holy ass out. Speak. You know what? Let me not get started. There's my ADD going in another direction. During this very period, moreover, there had been set to work certain forces which effected a change in the status of the slave. This was the nascent social compact doctrine of the American Revolution. Men reading the philosophy of John Locke to find an excuse for declaring the independence of the colonies began to assert that all men are created free and equal and endowed with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? So they're going up to the purpose of the American Revolutionary War. Now, because you got to remember, there was white slaves, and they was pushing because they wanted to get the hell away from Britain. They wanted to be free because they were the slaves in indentured service. They wanted to get out of them long ass indentured servitude contracts, and they wanted to be freed from being slaves because they were white slaves and black slaves, Indians and niggers. The Patriots were unable to harmonize this doctrine with slaveholding, needing the support of the Negro in maintaining the independence of this country too. Several of the states influenced by men who actually believed in equality for all, regardless of race or color, contrived to emancipate those Negroes who were then held as slaves. Yep, same shit back then. You need that goddamn Indian. Huh, let's read it again. I didn't write this shit. Still need them niggas. Still need them Indians. For trade, because you be dumbfounded trying to do agriculture because the Indians know what the fuck to plant in the ground because this is their land. And that would be the nigger. The Patriots were unable to harmonize this doctrine with slaveholding, needing the support of the Negro in maintaining the independence of this country to several of the states. Yo, hey, hey, I don't write this. What you need the nigga for? Hey, look here. It is what it is. I'm gonna read it one last time. The Patriots were unable to harmonize this doctrine with slaveholding. How come they was unable to harmonize it? Needing the support of the Negro. Yo, in maintaining the independence of this country too, several of the states influenced by men who actually believed in equality for all, regardless of race or color, contrived to emancipate those Negroes who were then held as slaves. Boing, boing, boing. You need the niggas. You need them to fight. The big Mike Tyson niggas, you need them. You need them big Mike Tyson and the sisters too. Miss Shields or whatever, Clarissa Shields, you need all the motherfuckers. Yeah, we need them niggas, y'all. We need them to maintain the independence. Ain't no goddamn Africans. Africans can't even fight. If you look on YouTube how Africans fight, they don't fight like niggas. Don't nobody fight like the Indian. We still fight and stand the same way when we fight. Hit your ass one time. Uh, hang on. Miss Nichols, I told y'all that the PDF is on our website. Let's see. Because I like this kind of stuff. Wait a minute, where you at? Where you at, Mrs. Um uh let me see. I just gotta look for it, y'all. Give me a minute. in there. Hang on, y'all. Forget it. I ain't got time. I was gonna show you the Indian in motor vehicle because that African couldn't fight. Nigga, you need them Indians. Not my point. Oh my goodness. Dee dee dee. I don't feel like looking for it, but you need to know Africans can't fight like no goddamn Indians. Not like no niggas. Nope. We whoop ass on some real shit. The 1-2 knockout nigga. I ain't even gonna show it. Forget it. But anyway, the need for that Indian, and that's exactly who Andrew Jackson had. But the Patriots were unable to harmonize this doctrine with slave holding, needing the support of the Negro in maintaining the independence of this country to several of the states influenced by men who actually believed in equality for all, regardless of race or color, contrived to emancipate those Negroes who were then held as slaves. This action was first taken by Vermont in construing its Declaration of Rights in 1777 and guaranteeing freedom to all persons at the age of maturity, and later abolished slavery altogether. Virginia removed constraints upon manumission in 1782, and by an act of 1783, she gave to every Negro who fought or served as a free man in the war a pledge of protection of the state in the enjoyment of the freedom he had helped to gain. Now, this isn't colonial. Well, also, it already had became a state. They, fighting for the manumission because it's 1782. Now, by 1783, the institution of slavery was prohibited in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Pennsylvania provided for gradual emancipation in 1780, and Connecticut and Rhode Island 1784. Now, it was prohibited from development in the Northwest Territory by the Ordinance of 1787, and by gradual process, it came to an end in New York and New Jersey. This impetus given manumission by the rights of man movement of the Revolutionary War, however, soon met organized resistance. Settled down to the solution of the problem of readjustment after the war, some raised the question as to what should be done with the rapidly increasing free Negro population. Letting them Indians back loose. While persons had conceded their natural right to be free, they have never thought of incorporating such a large number of them into the body politic. Yo, listen, y'all see this, right? While persons had conceded to their natural right to be free, they had never thought of incorporating such a large number of them into the body politic. Yo, this is just off the chain. Either the free Negroes, I like highlighting shit. Either the free Negroes would have to be removed from this country when liberated, or manumission would have to be prohibited. Legislators and even the Congress of the United States were memorialized to provide a place of asylum for the free Negro population. Anthony Benezet, Thomas Brannigan, Granville Sharp, and other friends of the Negro had advocated their colonization on the western domain near Canada. Not a few persons advocated the deportation of the free Negro to some distant portion of the Western Hemisphere or to Africa. See, this is how you know that we ain't come from there. Deportation of the free Negro. They didn't even mention here, like, well, deport them back to home. Nah, just putting them out there. But who would help them do that? Exactly, Beverly. History made up. Shame on you, Carter G. Woods. As no feasible plan of colonization was then in sight, the states with a large Negro population either restricted manumission or provided that the slaves liberated should be banished. The free Negro population under such circumstances comparatively declined. Together with the anti-free Negro sentiment and the law-making banishment and attendant condition of manumission, the change in the economic aspect of slavery as a result of the Industrial Revolution further aggravated the situation. By the multiplication of mechanical appliances, the weaving of cloth had been facilitated. The price being correspondingly reduced had made an increasing demand for cotton fiber, which necessitated an expansion of slavery by the extension of the plantation system, and thus checked manumission. In the North, however, where the act of emancipation had already been accomplished, okay, the free Negro population increased in spite of public sentiment to the country. This is so funny, y'all, because they was already here. This shit is just, listen to this, y'all. In the North, however, where the act of emancipation had already been accomplished, the free Negro population increased in spite of public sentiment to the contrary, because there was already thousands of free. This emancipation in the northern states, however, did not mean an immediate change in the status of the whole Negro population. With the exception of the Vermont and Massachusetts, slaves were reported from all of the states and territories in 1790. Although freedom was the normal condition in most northern communities, as the liberalizing influences of the American Revolution had done so much for emancipation, however, the states north of Maryland were essentially free from the time of the third census, 1810. The unusual effect of the American Revolution on the change of the status of the Negro is clearly evident by the fact that between 1790 and 1800, the free Negro population increased 82.2%, and between 1800 and 1810, 71%. That's almost 100 fucking percent, because it was so many of us already here, and then it just like quadrupled because we was having babies all over this. But we was when the reaction resulting from the Industrial Revolution set in, the manumissions decreased as a general rule, so that between 1810 and 1820, the increase was only 25.3%, but between 1820 and 1830, 36.8%. The increase by 1840 was only 20.9%. It dropped to 12.5% in 1850 and still lower to 12.3% in 1860. This tendency of the free Negro population to remain almost constant from 1840 to 1860 is better explained by contrasting there with the increase in the number of slaves from decade to decade. Whereas the increase in the free Negro population between 1790 and 1810 exceeded that for slaves, and the proportion free in the Negro population rose to 7.9% in 1790 to 13.5% in 1810. The percent of decimal increase of the slave population exceeded that of the free in 1820, although it was a little less than that of the free in 1830. Throughout the three succeeding decades, the decennial increase in the slave population so far exceeded that the free as to leave no question as to the trend of the Negro population in this country. One reason for the probably unexpected increase in the free Negro population between 1820 and 1830 was doubtless the increasing number of fugitives who made their escape from bondage when slavery, as a result of the Industrial Revolution, developed all the horrors of a system primarily intended for human exploitation. Another reason was the ultimate working out of gradual emancipation in the states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. The extension of the area of the census enumeration was another factor. Whatever increase there had been, however, was largely natural by excess of births and deaths. Frequent as were the cases of slaves running away from their masters, there is no direct evidence that this decidedly augmented the number of free persons of color in the northern states. Now, let me turn my camera on for a minute. Let me just turn my camera on for a minute, y'all. Reading this is mind-boggling. Whatever increase there had been, however, was largely natural by excess of births and deaths. Frequent as were the cases of slaves running away from their masters, there is no direct evidence that this decidedly augmented the number of free persons of color in the northern states. Now, if you're running away from your master, how the hell you know where to run to? But I'm just gonna let y'all just listen, and you come up with your own. Naturally, it's easy to make sense of what Carter Woods is telling you. Furthermore, there was little increase from foreign lands. Furthermore, there was little increase from foreign lands, for only 7,011 free Negroes were reported in 1860 as born abroad, and 3,700 or more than one half of these were in the state of New York. So now you know that these niggas it wasn't that many because it was too many here to bring them here. Furthermore, there was little increase from foreign lands, for only 7,011 free Negroes were reported in 1860 as born abroad, and 3,700 or more then half of these were in New York. They was in New York. Giving more accurate information with respect to the effect of manumissions on the increase of free Negro population, the census reports do not encourage the belief that this was considerable. One statistician has figured out that there were 1,467 manumissions the year preceding the census of 1850, when there were reported 1,011 of becoming fugitive. The number of manumissions reported for 1860 was approximately 3,000, and the number becoming fugitive 803. According to the census of 1860, there were probably 20,000 manumissions during the decade immediately preceding. Observing this tendency, the managers of the census of 1860 especially emphasized the disparity between the free Negro population and the slave. It was made clear that, because see, we in 1830, if you really look at it, okay, we were the Indians that were remained, but we weren't enslaved Indians. So this is what I mean when I say it, that they found it very hard to determine who the Indian was versus who the the slave was. Now, our our families, we enslaved our own families as those bees that came on the damn census. Now, man, this is just terrible, man. That's a whole nother bill. Oh my goodness, goodness, goodness. Observing this tendency, the managers of the census of 1860 especially emphasized the disparity between the free Negro population and the slave. It was made clear that the latter was decidedly outstripping the former, there being no proof that the free population was being supplemented very much by accessions from the slave element. In the decade between 1840 and 1850, the percentage increase of the slave population was more than double, and in the decade of following, nearly double that of the free Negro. Commenting upon this, the author of the compendium of the seventh census pointed out the declining ratio of the increase of the free Negro in every section, which in New England is now almost nothing, and in the southern states only one fourth as great as between 800 and 810, 1800 and 1810. The author also noted with some interest that the rate of increase of the free colored had been gradually declining for several decades to 1860, when the increase throughout the United States was but 1% per annum. Accounting for this decline in the rate of increase in the free element in the Negro population, so far below the rate of slave population, the report of Negro population in the United States from 1790 to 1915 explains that the free colored were somewhat older and on that account naturally subject to a higher mortality rate and somewhat less normally distributed by sex, and therefore probably characterized by a marital condition less favorable to rapid natural increase. Among the free colored at each of the five censuses, 1820 to 1860, there were fewer males than females, while in slave population, on the other hand, at each of these censuses, the number of males exceeded the number of females. In 1850, however, the slave population of over listen, y'all, the slave population of over 3 million was so evenly divided by sex that the excess of males over females amounted to less than 1 in 4,000 population. In this year, the sex ratio in the free colored population was 924 males to 1,000 females. The relative deficiency of males being practically confined to the population 15 years of age and over. In the slave population, it was 1,000 males to 1,000 females. In 1860, the ratio was 92 males to 1,000 females. In the free colored, okay, and 1,006 males to 1,000 females in the slave population. This disparity of numbers between the sexes was thus in both years much greater in the free colored population. The distribution of this population is of some interest. Of the free Negro population in 1790, 53.8% was in the South Atlantic Division, 0.8% in the South Central Division, and 45.4% in the North. In 1810, 51.9% of the free Negro population was in the South Atlantic Division, 1.8% in the East South Central Division, 4.1% in the West South Central Division, and 42.3% in the North. In 1830, 47.9% of this population was in the South Atlantic Division, 3.6% in the East South Central Division, 53.3% in the West South Central Division, and 43.2% in the North. By 1860, the distribution was 44.6% in the South Atlantic Division, 4.4% in the East South Central Division, and 3.9% in the West South Central Division, 46.2% in the North, and 9.9% in the West. Distribution of the free Negro population in 1830. Now, this is what they're saying in 1830 by these states. And I told you all the states are not on here. And he was very clear when he said that. Yeah, it is sad. Maine, 1,190. New Hampshire. You can look at the numbers. I won't. Here, y'all can look at the numbers. I'll let you see it for a minute. You could, because you also have this. I'm not going to go through all the numbers. Wow, we have 1,077 watching. Hot damn. I know you because it's raining out and you political guy. Oh, God, no, it's 1,200. You political guys. Love y'all too. But y'all got to learn too. Y'all got to learn to stop saying African American on the damn news. For real, for real. Because we're not Africans. And it's not that we hate Africans. Just stop saying that shit on the news, man. That's crazy. Or else we just have to have a protest for them to stop calling us that and referring to all the people with brown skin as African. I have a problem with that. So we looked at that enough. All right, let's continue reading. In the North, where most of the free Negroes were found, they lived in the cities. That's a damn lie, but we're going to keep it going. The proportionately large population of this element in New York, Philadelphia, and Boston further elucidates this point. Because a lot of us did, we lived in the cities, a lot of us, millions of us. And thousands of us lived in the rural areas too. But they're not going to keep clean with you. Because before they came, where were we? We was everywhere in the North. The proportionally large population of this element in New York, Philadelphia, and Boston further elucidates this point. In 1790, the 3,262 Negroes of New York City constituted a little more than 1/10 of this population, whereas 2,184 of these were slaves, 1,078 were free. The report that year from Philadelphia showed the Negro population of 1,630, with 210 slave and 1,420 free. Now, let me tell you something. When they was importing these slaves into the United States, they were bringing them in from the islands. They was bringing them in from Barbados. Hold up, let me show you. So when they bring them here, they're bringing them here. This is why you see half of them free, and the other half would be in slaves. Now let me just stop here. They was bringing them in from the islands. Let me just stop and show you something. Okay, let me stop the share screen. Take a little minute, you guys. A little water break or bathroom break. All right, let's just get back to the reading. I'll wait until um she can locate it. Mm. Ay, ay, ay. This damn thing. All right, here we go. Down to here. I hate this. In 1830, notable changes had taken place in the urban free Negro population. There were at the time 1,875 Negroes in Boston, 14,083 in New York City, and 9,796 in Philadelphia. In Baltimore that year, there were 14,790 free Negroes. In Charleston, 2,106. And in New Orleans, 11,906. All right. So give me a one if I should keep going. Facts, Beverly. Should give me a one if I should keep going because we're moving into the third, um the free Negro before the law. I think we should save that for Monday because I've been going at it now 12:30, 1:32, an hour and a half, and I hate to start a new Roman topic. So we'll do the free Negro Monday because tomorrow A1's coming on, and I'll mark it here. I'll highlight this so I know that this is what I will read starting tomorrow. But that's going to be it for today in reading this. And we're really getting through this. We're really getting through this. Now, what's going to be interesting is reading it, the free Negro before the law. The free Negro before the law. And it's going to be interesting. So I'll start there Monday when I get off work. So I'll go live Monday about 4 o'clock tomorrow. A1 and I are going to go live tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. I believe BAP is having some kind of debate today at 7. So that's in the play for today. But for the rest of the day, I'm going to read my Buddha book. I got to read my Buddha because I'm practicing to be a Buddhist. So I'm going to leave now. I already have my great shower. I got on my nice, comfortable Sunday dress because the weather's getting warm, which I'm so happy. And I'm just gonna chill out for the remainder of the day and read and watch my movies on Netflix. Relax. Read my Buddha, practice my Buddha, and my meditating, get myself right, get my body right, get my brain right. And I love y'all. And I almost want to cry departing from you. But I love you guys, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow at 3. I'll put the thumbnail out later today. I think what A1 and I are going to do is stream from Zoom. And he says that he's going to start back doing lives, but tomorrow he said he does not want to cancel tomorrow's live. So I'm excited about that. And it's going to be really great because I get to ask some questions and stuff that could help me because these are the ancient guru guys. Hey Lou, I got my cookies. I mean my candies. I call them candies. I got my candies and I hid my bag. Hey D. Allen Warren. Hey now. So that being said, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock with A1. You'll see the thumbnail out later. And of course, I'll send you guys emails. Check your emails to Because I send reminders that I'm going live. I send text messages and I put it in my community tab. So I hope you're getting the notifications. So I love you guys. Hey, Rodney, I can't play your son's song no more because it's monetized. And so, yeah, I love playing that song, but it's monetized. So, I mean, I could play it, but then I can't monetize because before he wasn't monetizing, and because he's monetizing, I can't play his music because he's getting the monetization, but he don't be on live, so he's wasting his time because he don't be on live all the time. So I don't know if you might want to tell him, and if you want people to play his music, he needs to unmonetize it so that we can support his music and play it on our lives. Other than that, that's why I haven't been playing it. And I just play the jazz because I have the contract with Epic. So again, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 3:00 with A1. Bake some cookies. Eat some. I don't know what you guys are cooking today, but I'm tired of chicken. I can tell you that right now. If I eat another chicken, I'm going to lay an egg. So take it light. Love y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.